In the western region, we'll see scenic farmland and rugged coastline before heading back to Reykjavik. After breakfast at Hotel A, we visit some nearby waterfalls. What makes Hraunfossar, or lava falls, unique is that its water source is underground. Nearby is Barnafoss, or Children's Waterfall. The name comes from a legend about two boys from a farm in the area. One day the boys' parents went to church. The boys were supposed to stay home, but they grew bored and went to the waterfall. They lost their footing on a natural stone bridge above the waterfall and fell into the water and drowned. In her grief, the mother put a curse on the bridge. A little while later, it collapsed in an earthquake. We passed by scenic farmscapes with various colors of hay marshmallows in their fields. In the 19th century, 70 to 80% of the population were engaged in agriculture. Today, the number is less than 5%, so it's not unusual to see abandoned farms like this one. But people are adapting. In areas with geothermal resources, greenhouses grow tomatoes, strawberries, cucumbers, green peppers, and cut flowers. Snæfellsjökull, a picturesque farmstead on the Hvita River, offers salmon fishing and a museum in addition to its milk production. This single-lane bridge, built in 1928, was part of the main north-south route until a new bridge was built downriver in 1981. Icelandic horses in a field of buttercups. That attracts photographers like bears to honey. I have to admit, it's a nice scene, and fun too. Next stop is a wall of basalt columns. At their foot is an ages-old sheep pen and a farmstead and church. Helgi insists that sheep are the dumbest creatures in Iceland. If they hit the grill today, they'll be on the grill tonight. Icelandic sheep were descendants of sheep brought to Iceland by the first settlers. They've been bred for 1,000 years in a very harsh environment. They may not be too smart, but they are survivors. They're bred mostly for their meat. I thought I detected a worried look on these lambs. The lambs are killed at 4 to 5 months when they weigh 70 to 90 pounds. Icelandic fleece is dual-coated for the harsh winters. The outer wool is used for durable products and the fine inner wool for products that touch the skin. Sheep's milk is made into skyr, a naturally sweet yogurt. We're at Búðir, a nature reserve and home to a unique church. In addition to the sheep, there are a variety of birds here. The first church was built on this site in 1703. The current church was reconstructed in 1987. The door ring is from the original 1703 church. The black color wasn't that unusual in the 1700s. Then wooden buildings were coated with tar to withstand the elements. In the morning, we set out to explore the westernmost part of the western region. On the way, an Arctic fox darts across the road, and we stop and look at each other. At Arnarstapi Harbor, there are some spectacular views and lots of birds. Now this is waterfront property. We're now in Snæfellsjökull National Park. Iceland has 3 national parks, and we visited them all this trip. The cliffs are full of nesting seabirds. This rock formation is the last part of a much larger crater that has been eroded away by the sea. The Malarife Lighthouse was built in 1946. This pinnacle is all that remains of a sea arch that collapsed in 1973. It's home to razorbills and Murres, and a lonely puffin. At the risk of falling off the cliff, we get a better look. Razorbills are in the auk family. They occupy a similar ecological niche in the Arctic that penguins do in the Antarctic. They nest on ledges and only lay one egg a year. Razorbills typically feed at a depth of about 80 feet, but can dive up to 390 feet. Common murres are also in the auk family and have similar lifestyle to the razorbill. Also on the cliffs are kittiwakes, a member of the gull family. Their English name comes from their call. The Snæfellsjökull lighthouse was built in 1931. It's been a busy morning and there's more to see, but we have a schedule to keep, so it's time to leave the national park. On the way to lunch, Helgi shows us his favorite church scene, and we photograph it from all the angles. The village of Riff is a thriving fishing and fish processing center, and our lunch stop. The fishing industry is the single most important part of the Icelandic economy, contributing 27% of the GDP. The fishing industry employs about 5% of the workforce, but upwards to 20% of the workforce support fisheries through boat building, fishing and fish processing equipment manufacturing, and so on. Lunch is at Gamla Reef, the oldest building in Reef, and the fish soup is excellent. After lunch, we're heading east back to Reykjavik. Our trip is almost over. A few more beautiful waterfalls to capture, and just one more oyster catcher. And of course, we had to stop for the iconic Church Mountain. And we're back in rainy Reykjavik, just in time for our farewell dinner at the cryptically named Matur og Drekar, or food and drink. The servers look familiar, but what is it about Viking attire? We just can't get enough fish soup. This one is upscale with halibut, apples, and basil oil. The main course, one of those fluffy little lambs from yesterday, and potatoes from the geothermal field, and greens from the greenhouse. Thanks to Wolfgang for making all this happen. A very special thanks to Helgi for delivering us safely and helping us understand his Iceland. And thanks too to our fellow travelers for your curiosity, patience, and stamina.